When a Mafia boss's son collapsed in the hallway, clutching his throat as poison burned through his veins, everyone froze. Everyone except the quiet house Maid, who was never supposed to matter. In a mansion full of killers, doctors, and men trained for crisis, she was the only one who saw what was really happening, and the only one willing to do the impossible to save a boy who had no idea he was living his final 30 minutes. Before we dive into this emotional story, welcome to the channel. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to tap that like button so this story reaches more people. Luca DeLorenzo's mornings were always the same, calculated, controlled, and painfully quiet beneath the illusion of luxury. Sunlight spilled across the marble floors of the Eastern Wing, catching the edges of gold-framed portraits staring down with judgmental eyes. Every ancestor glared as if demanding he straighten his shoulders, sharpen his expression, and remember exactly who he was meant to become. A prince of a kingdom built on blood. He stood in front of the tall mirror, adjusting the cuffs of his black shirt. It fit him perfectly, tailored, expensive, suffocating. His reflection stared back with a cool, practiced indifference. But today, something in his gaze flickered. A crack in the armor. His fingers hovered near the collar, as if tempted to rip it off and breathe like a normal person. The knock on his bedroom door came lightly, too lightly. The guards always slammed. The staff always knocked twice. This was a single, hesitant tap. "Enter," Lucas said without looking up. The door creaked open. He saw her reflection first. Noelle, the new maid. Small frame, dark hair tied back, carrying a basket of pressed linens. Her uniform was tidy, but her shoes were old, worn at the edges, creased like someone who walked more miles than she ever spoke words. She kept her eyes down, always down. People in this house survived by being invisible. I brought fresh towels, sir," she said, voice soft enough to be mistaken for a draft. Luca gave a non-committal hum. She placed the towels near the wardrobe, careful not to disturb anything. Noelle always moved like she expected the world to collapse if she shifted something in the wrong direction. Luca had barely noticed her in the months she'd been here. Not because he didn't see her, but because she tried so hard not to be seen. Yet lately, his eyes followed her more than they should. Something about the way she hesitated before speaking, or the way she watched rooms like she was memorizing every danger, every exit, like someone who'd lived through storms. Today, as she turned to leave, her fingers trembled around the basket's handle. Not from fear, something else. Something she was hiding. Luca's brow lifted. "You look like you didn't sleep," he said. She froze. Noelle didn't look people in the eyes. Didn't talk unless forced. Didn't react. But this time, something flickered across her face. A flash of surprise, maybe confusion that someone noticed her at all. Then she smoothed her expression. "Just tired, sir. It won't affect my work." He shrugged as if it meant nothing, but his curiosity lingered even after she slipped out the door. Meanwhile, in the servants' hall, the world felt entirely different. The floors didn't shine. The lights flickered. The walls carried whispers of fear instead of power. Noelle moved through it quietly, tucking her basket against her hip. The other maids chatted near the laundry room. Soft gossip about last night's incident in the West Garage, where the boss's men had dragged someone in. Someone bleeding. Noelle's stomach tightened. Violence in this house was normal, but she never got used to the sounds, the thuds, the muffled cries, the forced silence afterward. She tried to avoid the others and slip past, but one of the senior maids noticed her. "Noelle," Marta said with gentle disapproval, "you look pale again. Did you faint this morning? I told you to eat." "I'm fine," Noelle murmured. She wasn't. Her ribs ached from where she'd bumped into the corner of the bed frame last night. She'd been rushing, trying to finish her chores before curfew. The guards hated when staff wandered too late, but Marta didn't need to know that. She'd worry, and Noelle hated making people worry. She moved to the laundry basin and dipped her hands in warm water, grounding herself. The house had been louder than usual lately. Meetings past midnight, shouts, the sound of shattering bottles. Something was happening, something big, and she could feel it tightening around the mansion's walls like a fist. When she glanced through the hallway window, she saw guards switching positions, 3 extra today, and 2 unfamiliar black cars parked near the entrance. "Storm's coming," Marta muttered under her breath. Noelle didn't ask what kind. She already knew. Back upstairs, Luca walked through the main hall, forcing himself into the day's routine. Meetings. Logistics. A forced lunch with his father where every sentence was a veiled command. His father's voice echoed even now. Strength is inherited. Weakness is chosen. Luca rubbed the back of his neck, jaw clenching. He wasn't weak. He simply didn't want this life. Not the bloodshed. Not the power games. Not the constant paranoia disguised as leadership. He wanted something else. Anything else. His phone buzzed. A text from Matteo, his cousin. Emergency meeting in 10. Boss wants you there. Luca sighed. Of course he does, he muttered. As he turned the corner, he caught sight of Noelle again, kneeling to pick up a stack of dropped cleaning cloths. A guard had bumped into her and kept walking without apology. Typical. What wasn't typical was the way Luca slowed. He didn't approach, didn't speak. He simply watched. Noelle gathered the cloths, her fingers brushing the floor like she was afraid of disturbing it. Her hair slipped loose from its tie, falling across her cheek. She hurried to tuck it back, glancing up only to ensure no one saw. But Luca saw. He saw the way her shoulders tightened whenever footsteps approached. He saw how quickly she vanished against the wall to avoid confrontation. He saw how exhaustion dimmed her usually alert eyes. Before he could stop himself, he spoke. You dropped one. She froze again. He pointed behind her. A single cloth lay by her heel. Noelle blinked. Then nodding quickly, she retrieved it. Thank you, she murmured. You don't have to thank me for pointing at a towel, Luca replied. She hesitated at the tone, almost teasing. People don't usually notice, she whispered. Then she stood and moved away before he could find a reply. As the morning stretched into early afternoon, the mansion's tension thickened. Luca entered the conference room, sitting opposite his father, Salvatore De Lorenzo, a man whose silence was more dangerous than his rage. The conversation was about territory expansions, threats from rival families, and a betrayal whispered in back alleys. Luca listened mechanically, but felt his chest tightening. This wasn't his world. Or maybe it was, but he hated that it was. When the meeting ended, Salvatore caught Luca by the wrist. Not roughly, just firmly enough to assert control. I need your focus, his father said without looking at him. Whatever distractions you're entertaining, remove them. We don't have space for weakness. Luca swallowed. I'm not distracted. A lie. His father released him with a dismissive nod. Good. But something in Salvatore's tone suggested he wasn't convinced. While the family strategized, Noelle scrubbed the upper hall floors, her knees aching. She worked quietly, always listening, doors opening, guards moving, distant voices debating something heatedly. Her instincts prickled again. She'd grown up trusting those instincts. They had saved her more than once. As she wrung out the cloth, she overheard two guards whispering by the staircase. The boss's kid doesn't know yet, does he? No, and he won't until it's too late. Too late for what? Noelle's grip tightened on the bucket handle. She lowered her head as the guards passed her, pretending not to hear. But her heartbeat sped up. Something bad was coming, and it was aimed at Luca. She didn't know why that frightened her. He was rich, untouchable, a prince in a poisoned castle. Yet as she returned to scrubbing the floor, her hands shook. By late afternoon, clouds drifted over the mansion, darkening the halls with an early shadow. Noelle was heading toward the linen storage when she heard a low groan from one of the guest corridors. She paused. Another sound followed, soft, pained, like someone struggling to breathe. She set her basket down and walked slowly, carefully. Her steps were silent. The sound grew louder near a room partially cracked open. She pushed it gently. The light was dim. Someone was kneeling on the floor, one hand braced against the dresser. Luca. His breathing was sharp, irregular. He pressed a hand to his chest, as if trying to steady his heartbeat. Sir, Noelle whispered, startled. Luca looked up, eyes glazed, not with pain, but with something worse. Confusion. His lips parted. What did his voice broke? He slid sideways, catching himself on the dresser. Noelle rushed forward instinctively. Sit down, she urged, guiding him toward the edge of the bed. Luca collapsed onto it, jaw clenched. Sweat glistened at his temple. His pupils were dilating unevenly. Noelle recognized the signs. Poison. Fast-acting. Potent. Her blood turned cold. Luca grabbed her wrist. Don't call anyone, he gasped. They won't help. She looked at his face, pale, trembling, fighting to stay conscious. Sir, you need a doctor. No doctor in this house can be trusted, he rasped. Someone did this on purpose. His chest heaved. His grip tightened. Noelle's pulse hammered against his palm. Something inside her snapped. Fear, yes, but also a fierce clarity. She had seen this type of poison once before. Years ago. She knew its symptoms. She knew the timeline. And she knew one horrifying truth. You have maybe 30 minutes, she whispered. Luca's eyes met hers. Panic flickered between the pain. Then do something, he breathed. Her hands trembled, but she didn't step back. She stepped closer. Closer than she'd ever dared. Her voice was barely a breath. I can. Luca's grip tightened around Noelle's wrist, as if she were the only thing anchoring him to consciousness. His pulse thudded unevenly beneath her fingertips, too shallow, too rapid, a chaotic rhythm that only confirmed her fear. He didn't have long. She glanced at the door. Guards patrolled constantly. If any of them found him like this, they would call the doctor, the family doctor, the one who never moved without Salvatore De Lorenzo's permission. And if this poison came from inside the house, and Noelle was certain that it did, then calling the doctor would seal Luca's fate. Her throat tightened. She should walk away. Just a maid. Invisible. Replaceable. Saving him wasn't her place. Saving him might get her killed. But then his fingers slipped from her wrist and grazed her hand instead. Not intentional, not controlled, but desperate. His eyes met hers again, dazed and terrified in a way she had never seen from him. Noelle, he whispered, voice cracking. It wasn't an order. It wasn't a plea for a servant to fetch help. It was a man drowning, clinging to the first thing he saw floating. Something inside her shattered. Lie back, she said softly. He exhaled in relief that was nearly a sob. She helped him recline on the bed, his head hitting the pillows as another wave of dizziness slammed into him. He groaned, squeezing his eyes shut. No, she murmured, tapping his cheek lightly. Stay with me, sir. Stop calling me that. Luca breathed, voice barely audible. If I'm dying, I don't want to die being called sir. Her breath caught. Then what should I call you? His lips parted, but no sound came. His eyes rolled slightly, fighting the pull of unconsciousness. No. Look at me, she said, more urgently now. She pressed her fingertips to his jaw, steadying his face. His skin felt hot and clammy. His breath smelled faintly metallic. The poison beginning to circulate. Memories flickered at the edges of her mind. A kitchen, a bowl of soup, a man turning blue, a frantic race to save him. The same bitter smell on his breath. She swallowed hard. She couldn't freeze. Not again. Luca, she said, using his name without hesitation this time. I'm going to help you. But you have to trust me. His eyes twitched open, just barely, but enough to see her. I trust you, he whispered. Her chest tightened painfully. He meant it. He really meant it. She stood abruptly. She needed something, a specific kind of tea leaf, a water filter, salt, charcoal powder, alcohol cloth. She could slow the poison, maybe even reverse it if she was fast enough. No doctors. No guards. She was his only chance. Don't move, she said, breath uneven as she hurried toward the door. Of course he won't, she scolded herself. He can barely breathe. She cracked the door and peeked into the hallway. Empty. For now. If she left this room, she'd have to return unnoticed. If anyone saw her running around, they'd ask questions. And questions in this house were dangerous. She slipped out, closing the door silently behind her. Luca exhaled shakily and focused on the ceiling, which seemed to twist and blur. Black spots danced at the edges of his vision. The room pulsed unevenly, deep, sickening waves of nausea. He gripped the sheets, breaths coming shallow and fast. 30 minutes, he muttered. Great way to start the afternoon. His thoughts drifted, unsteady, fragmented. His father wouldn't care. Not enough to save him personally. His cousins? Loyal, but useless in medical emergencies. The staff? Too afraid. And Noelle. He didn't understand her. Didn't understand why she looked at him like she saw him, and not the monster in training everyone else expected him to be. He didn't understand why her hands had trembled when she touched him. Fear, or something else. He didn't understand why she ran out the door, like saving him was something she'd done before. "What are you?" he whispered, eyes slipping shut. Noelle moved quickly, faster than she ever allowed herself to move when anyone was watching. Every second felt like another heartbeat lost. She ducked into the laundry room, then the kitchen. Martin noticed her first. "Noelle, why are you rushing?" I need supplies," she said too quickly. "For what?" Noelle froze. She glanced around the room. The head chef, 2 sous chefs, and a guard stationed near the back exit. She forced her voice steady. "Spilled cleaning chemicals upstairs. I need to neutralize it before it damages the wood." The chef waved her off. "Take whatever." Noelle grabbed the items she needed, hiding the charcoal powder inside her apron pocket, slipping the alcohol bottle up her sleeve, and bundling herbs inside a towel. She moved with trembling efficiency, but as she turned, the guard watched her, not suspicious, but curious. "You're new," he said. "I've been here 4 months," she corrected softly. He tilted his head. "Still new." Noelle lowered her gaze and walked away, heart racing. The last thing she needed was attention. She hurried back to Luca's room, her steps silent, rehearsed. She had perfected the art of invisibility. But when she reached the door, she froze. Footsteps. 2 guards walked past, talking. "Boss said to check on the kid again. Make sure he shows up to tonight's meeting." "Yeah, kid's been off lately. Distracted." They kept walking. Noelle flattened herself against the wall until they disappeared. Then she slipped into the room and quietly shut the door. Luca had grown paler. His breaths were more irregular. His hand dangled off the bed, fingers twitching slightly. No, she whispered, rushing to him. "I told you not to fall asleep." His eyelids fluttered, barely responding. She placed a hand on his cheek. "Luca, open your eyes." He did. Barely. "Thought you left," he murmured. She exhaled shakily. "I came back. I said I would." She helped him sit up, cushioning pillows behind him as he winced. "I need you to drink something," she said, pouring warm water into a cup and mixing charcoal powder with salt. "It's gonna taste horrible." "I already feel horrible," Luca whispered. "So what's one more thing?" She hesitated just a second. He was still making jokes? Then she brought the cup to his lips. "Small sips. Go slow." He obeyed, though his hand shook when he tried to steady the cup. She guided it for him, her fingers brushing his. His lips parted around the rim, and she could feel his breath, shallow, heated, struggling. "This will slow the poison," she said softly. "But it won't stop it." He swallowed hard. "So I'm still dying." The words dropped between them like stones. Noelle met his gaze, steady, determined. "Not if I can help it." His throat worked. "Why? You don't even know me." "I know enough," she replied, voice tight. He blinked. "What does that mean?" She looked away. "It means I'm not letting someone die when I can stop it." His chest rose and fell, even weakened. His eyes searched her face like he was trying to read something she wasn't saying. "You're shaking," he murmured. "I'm not," she said too quickly. He tried to smile, but pain twisted it halfway. "You are. Terrified." "I'm not scared for myself," she whispered before she could stop herself. That stunned him into silence. She cleared her throat and began preparing the herbs, crushing them between cloth and pouring hot alcohol over them to release the antidote-like properties. She muttered under her breath, counting measurements silently. Luca watched her with slow, heavy breaths. "You've done this before," he said quietly. Her hand froze mid-motion. "Noelle, how do you know what you're doing?" She stiffened. She shouldn't have helped him this easily. She shouldn't have recognized the poison. She shouldn't have moved with the confidence of someone who knew too much. She didn't answer. Instead, she dipped the cloth into the mixture and pressed it to the inside of his wrist. The alcohol burned his skin sharply. He flinched. "Ah, you could warn me. You're lucky I didn't slap you awake," she muttered. Despite the pain clawing at his insides, he huffed weakly. "So the maid does have claws. Do you want to live, or do you want to joke?" "Both," he whispered. She almost smiled. Almost. The minutes passed slowly. Noelle worked with precise movements, repeating the treatment, forcing more of the charcoal mixture down his throat, checking his breathing, pressing her fingers to his pulse. Her face remained drawn, tense, terrified. Luca fought to stay awake. Not because he feared death in the way most men did, but because of the way she kept saying his name. Because she kept touching him like he mattered. Because her voice stayed steady, even when her hands didn't. Something deep in him, buried beneath arrogance, power, and loneliness, ached. After what felt like an eternity, the worst of the shaking passed. His breathing steadied, barely, but enough for his vision to stop blurring. He looked at her, really looked. Her cheeks were flushed. Her hair had fallen loose again. Her hands trembled faintly over the towel in her lap. She had saved him. A maid. A girl no one saw. Someone who owed him nothing. "Noelle," he whispered. She raised her eyes. "Thank you," he said softly. Emotion flickered across her features. Shame, relief, fear, something else she quickly buried. "You're not safe yet," she murmured. "The poison's still in your system. I slowed it, but I didn't remove it. How long did you buy me?" She swallowed hard. "Maybe an hour." Luca exhaled slowly. "So I'm still on borrowed time." She nodded. "And the person who did this," she added quietly, "is probably waiting to see if it worked." That struck him hard. Silence fell between them. Raw, fragile, dangerous. "Why would anyone poison me?" he whispered. Noelle hesitated. She had overheard the guards. She had sensed the tension in the halls. She knew exactly why. "Because," she whispered, "you're next in line, and someone doesn't want you to be." His jaw tightened, but then his gaze flicked to her, softening. "And you were the only one who helped me." She looked away. "Anyone would've." "That's a lie," he said quietly. Her breath hitched. Before she could respond, a sharp knock rattled the door. Both froze. "Noelle," Luca hissed, sitting up straighter despite the pain. "You can't be seen here. They'll think." The doorknob twisted. Noelle grabbed the bowl, the herbs, the cloth, shoving everything under the bed. "Get in the closet," Luca whispered urgently. "But you." "No time." "Go." The door inched open, and Noelle slipped silently into the closet, heart pounding as voices spilled into the room. Midway into this intense moment, tell me in the comments, do you think it was an inside job? And why target Luca now? The door swung wider, and two guards stepped inside. Marco and Rennie, the ones Noelle had overheard earlier. Luca forced his shoulders straight, gripping the blankets tightly to mask the weakness in his hands. His heartbeat thumped unevenly, but he held his expression steady. "Sir," Marco said, eyes scanning Luca suspiciously. "We knocked earlier. You didn't answer." "Was in the shower," Luca replied smoothly, though his voice rasped with the remnants of poison. "Didn't hear you." Rennie sniffed the air. "Smells like alcohol in here." Luca tilted his chin. "Spilled cologne. Do you need anything, or are you inspecting my fragrance choices now?" The men stiffened. Luca rarely used humor when he was angry, and today his tone carried razor-edge impatience. It worked. Neither guard wanted to provoke Salvatore's son, regardless of the tension in the house. Marco cleared his throat. "Your father wants you downstairs in 10. Luca tensed, but forced a casual shrug. "I'll be there." Rennie's gaze drifted across the room, toward the closet. Luca's stomach dropped. Rennie took one step toward it, and Luca reacted instantly. "Hey," he snapped. "You two done? Or do we need to schedule a tea party in here?" Both guards jerked their attention back to him. Marco muttered something under his breath, and Rennie reluctantly stepped back. The door closed behind them. Silence. Then, from inside the closet, a shaky exhale. Lucas slumped against the headboard. "You can come out now," he said quietly. The door creaked open, and Noelle stepped out, face pale, hands shaking violently now that the adrenaline was gone. He studied her. "You okay?" She nodded once, but her knees buckled slightly, and she grabbed the doorframe for balance. "You're not okay," Luca murmured. "I'm fine," she insisted. "You're shaking so hard the floor might register it as an earthquake." Despite everything, her lips twitched, half smile, half exhausted disbelief. "This isn't funny." "No," he agreed softly. "It's not." Their eyes met, heavy, loaded with everything that had just happened. Noelle looked away first. "You need to lie back." "The poison." "The poison can wait," he interrupted gently. "You almost fainted." "I'm not the one dying." The words hit him with surprising force. He stared at her. This girl who'd risked everything for him, who kept running toward danger instead of away from it. Then he laughed, a soft, breathless sound. You really don't care what happens to you, do you? Her jaw tightened. It doesn't matter. It matters to me, he snapped. The words came out sharper than intended. Her eyes widened, and Luca regretted the tone instantly. He rubbed his forehead, breath unsteady. I didn't mean... Noelle, sit down. Please. She hesitated, then perched on the edge of the bed, keeping her distance. The silence between them was thick. Fear, confusion, something unspoken hovering in the air. Luca broke it first. What you said earlier, he murmured. That you weren't scared for yourself. She stiffened. He leaned toward her slightly, ignoring the dizziness that followed. What? I don't know, she whispered. Yes, you do. Her hands twisted in her lap. You shouldn't push yourself right now. I'm not letting this go. She rose abruptly. I should check your pulse. It's probably dropping again. Noelle, stop talking. You're going downstairs soon. You need. Noelle. She froze at his tone. He wasn't commanding her. He wasn't mocking her. He was asking, quiet, raw, vulnerable. Why were you scared for me? Her chest rose unevenly. Because you were dying, she whispered. You didn't know if you could save me. I didn't, she admitted. Her voice cracked. I still don't. He studied her face. She looked like she was holding back an entire storm of emotions behind her eyes. Then why try? He pushed softly. She swallowed hard. Because no one else would. Luca nodded slowly. He didn't press further. But the seed of something frighteningly human rooted under his ribs. Someone cared. Someone who wasn't obligated to. Someone who saw him not as a legacy, not as a threat, not as a pawn, but as a person. And that terrified him more than the poison. But the moment couldn't last. A text buzzed on Luca's phone. From Matteo. You look pale. You sick. Then another. Uncle's in a terrible mood. Don't be late. Luca grimaced. Fantastic. He tried standing, and immediately swayed. Noelle lunged forward, catching him before he fell. Her hand slid under his arms, soft and warm against his skin. He felt her breath at his shoulder, her cheek near his neck. He exhaled sharply. Careful, she murmured. You can't walk like this. I don't have a choice, he cut in. If I don't show up, my father will send guards. Then tell him. I can't. Why not? His jaw clenched. Because showing weakness here is an invitation for someone to finish what the poison started. She flinched. The reality sank deeper. Luca wasn't just poisoned. He was targeted. And someone under this roof wanted him gone. Noelle helped him sit again, her hand steadying him. You're not going alone, she said. He blinked, stunned. What? You're too weak. You'll fall halfway down the stairs. You need someone close enough to catch you without raising suspicion. A humorless smile tugged at his mouth. What? You'll follow me like a shadow. Maid duty has limits. She inhaled deeply. Then I'll go ahead of you. He frowned. Why? So if you collapse in the hallway, I'll already be there to help. Lucas stared at her. Not with arrogance. Not with curiosity. Not with entitlement. But with something almost gentle. Why are you doing this? He whispered. Her answer was soft. Because you're not alone anymore. The words entered him like a truth he never allowed himself to believe. When she slipped out of the room first, checking the hallway, Luca leaned against the wall, breathing unevenly. Every part of him resisted the moment. Not because she was wrong. She wasn't. But because needing someone, relying on someone. That was dangerous. That was vulnerability. He'd been raised to avoid both. He shook his head, gripping the nightstand until the spinning stopped. He wouldn't drag her into this. He refused to. But when he opened the door, she was waiting, silent, steady, watching him with those observant eyes he used to overlook. Ready? She asked quietly. No, he muttered. Let's go anyway. She nodded and walked ahead, steps controlled and slow so he could keep up from behind. He followed. Each step was agony. Each turn made his vision blur. Each moment carried danger. She didn't look back, but she listened for every breath he took. At the bottom of the stairs, she paused. Last stretch, she whispered as if sharing a secret. He nodded, but halfway down his foot slipped. The world tilted. Luca's body pitched forward, and Noelle caught him before he hit the marble. Her arm hooked around his waist, her hand braced against his chest, her face inches from his. Their breaths tangled, uneven, urgent. Don't, she whispered, voice trembling with fear she couldn't hide. Don't fall now. His fingers curled into her sleeve. Their eyes locked. For a moment, the mansion disappeared. The danger vanished. The poison stopped burning. It was just the two of them, pressed close, hearts hammering, breaths mixing. "Noel," he murmured, barely audible. But before he could say more, a voice cut through the air. "Well, isn't this interesting?" They turned sharply. At the bottom of the stairs stood Matteo, Luca's cousin, eyes narrowed, expression unreadable, and he had seen everything. Matteo's stare cut through the air like a blade. Still, sharp, unreadable. He stood with one hand in his pocket, shoulders relaxed. But his eyes were doing too much work for someone who supposedly cared nothing about house rumors. Noel went rigid. Luca straightened instinctively, forcing himself to stand without leaning on her. It nearly sent him backward, but he locked his knees until the room stopped spinning. "Problem?" Luca asked, voice steady but thin at the edges. Matteo raised a brow. "Depends. Should I be concerned that my cousin is collapsing down the stairs into the arms of one of the maids?" Noelle lowered her head quickly, but Matteo wasn't looking at her. His eyes stayed fixed on Luca. "Bad step," Luca muttered. "Right." Matteo's mouth curved. "And I tripped into a Ferrari once." Luca's jaw twitched. "If you're done watching my balance, I need to speak with my father." Matteo didn't move. "He's busy." "With what?" "Being furious." Luca exhaled slowly. "When is he not?" Matteo smirked. "Touché." The tension felt thick, like a wire pulled too far. Noelle took a small step back to give them space, but Matteo finally shifted his attention to her. "What's your name?" he asked casually, too casually. Noelle froze. Luca stepped slightly in front of her. "She doesn't need to answer you." Matteo blinked, surprised. "She works here. And I'm asking her a question." Noelle swallowed. "It's Noelle, sir." Matteo's eyes softened just for a second. "Pretty name." Luca bristled. "Enough. She needs to get back to work." "But she's not going anywhere," Matteo replied quietly. Noelle's breath hitched. Luca stiffened. "What?" Matteo leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice. "Uncle wants everyone in the East Wing. Family only." "Then she shouldn't be there," Luca said. No, Matteo's lips pressed into a cold smile. "Everyone, including staff." That made Luca's pulse jolt. His father never summoned staff during family business. Ever. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Noelle must have felt it too. She shifted closer to him, without thinking. Matteo noticed. If he judged it, he didn't show it. "Follow me," he said, turning toward the hallway. Luca managed one step before the dizziness punched him in the ribs. He inhaled sharply, gripping the railing. Matteo paused, glancing over his shoulder. "You all right?" "Fine," Luca lied. Matteo didn't believe him. He walked back up 2 steps, grabbed Luca's arm, and slung it over his own shoulder. "I'm not letting you face him alone if you look like you just crawled out of a grave." Luca stiffened. "I don't need." "Shut up," Matteo muttered. It wasn't cruel. It was protective. Noelle watched, face tight with worry, hands twisting in the apron she still hadn't realized she was wringing. Matteo shifted his weight to support Luca's full body without making it look obvious. "Let's go," he said. Noelle followed a few steps behind them, silent but alert. The 3 of them moved together down the hallway. Forced proximity. Unavoidable. Unstable. And with every step, the itch of danger crawled higher on Luca's spine. They reached the east wing, where the double mahogany doors were partly open. Inside, Luca could hear voices, deep, angry, cutting through the air like knives. His father's voice among them. Matteo glanced at him. "He's worse today." "No shock," Luca muttered. Matteo pushed the door open, and the 3 stepped inside. The room was large, all dark bookshelves and red carpet, lit only by 2 wall lamps and the glow of the fireplace. Salvatore Valeni stood near the head of the long table, sleeves rolled up, a glass of whiskey untouched in his hand. His face was an expression of restrained rage. Around him stood 5 men, trusted lieutenants, guards, accountants. Everyone turned when Luca entered. Everyone noticed Noelle immediately afterward. The silence was suffocating. Salvatore's eyes locked onto his son and narrowed. "You're late." Matteo stepped forward, taking some of Luca's weight with him. "My fault," he said quickly. "I needed to talk to him about." "I didn't ask you," Salvatore snapped. Matteo froze. Luca straightened despite the spinning in his vision. I'm here now. What's going on? Salvatore stared at him for a long, uncomfortable beat, taking in Luca's pale skin, the faint tremble in his stance. You look sick, Salvatore said. I'm fine. You're lying. I said I'm fine. Salvatore stepped closer, examining his face like a puzzle piece. What did you eat today? He asked. Noel's breath hitched. Luca's blood turned cold. This line of questioning, it felt too close. Too direct. I'm not hungry, Luca muttered. That wasn't the question. Salvatore's voice dropped into a dangerous whisper. What did you eat today? Luca opened his mouth, but Matteo stepped forward. Uncle, maybe this isn't. Quiet. Matteo exhaled sharply but obeyed. Salvatore now looked suspicious, calculating. His eyes weren't concerned. They were assessing, measuring. Tell me. Salvatore pressed again. Luca felt the pressure of Noel's gaze burning into his back. He couldn't expose her. He couldn't expose the poisoning. If his father thought someone got close enough to harm Luca, he would begin hunting. He would break walls. He would interrogate staff. He would eventually find her. So Luca did something reckless. He lied. Skipped breakfast, he said casually. Didn't feel like eating. Salvatore studied him closely. Then his eyes shifted to Noel. And why? Salvatore asked quietly. Is the maid trembling like she has something to hide? Noel's lungs froze. Luca stepped in front of her instinctively. She was carrying laundry when we bumped into her on the stairs. Then why did she follow you here? She didn't, Luca said. Matteo dragged me in here like a wounded dog. She just happened to be behind us. Noel stared at him, stunned that he could lie with such precision, even while wounded. Salvatore lifted his chin toward her. Come here. Her heart slammed into her ribs. Luca moved. No. Salvatore's jaw tightened. You forget yourself. I didn't forget anything, Luca said. She's not involved in anything. Leave her out of it. No one breathed. Matteo's eyes widened slightly. Luca never challenged his father over staff. Ever. Salvatore's gaze darkened. You're protecting her. Luca swallowed. No. Lies. Salvatore stepped closer, lowering his voice. You don't protect people. Especially not the help. Luca didn't respond. He couldn't. His silence was loud enough. Salvatore's suspicion sharpened to a point. Search her, he ordered. Noel gasped softly. Matteo stepped forward quickly. Uncle, that's unnecessary. Do it. Two guards moved instantly. Luca snapped. Stop. They froze, confused, caught between father and son. Luca breathed hard, fighting the creeping weakness in his muscles. You're not touching her. Then she can step forward herself, Salvatore said coolly. Unless she has something she doesn't want me to see. Noel's voice was tiny but steady. Sir, I didn't do anything. Salvatore watched her, eyes like cold steel, then stepped forward. She hesitated, just enough to show fear. Luca felt every instinct flare. He took her wrist. Come with me. She blinked. What? He pulled her toward the far side of the room, away from the table, away from Salvatore. Salvatore laughed once, low, dangerous. You think you can walk out of here with her? I'm not letting you interrogate an innocent girl, Lucas said, breath thin. And I'm not letting a possible accomplice walk out of this room. She isn't. Then prove it. The air turned electric. Salvatore stepped closer. Have her empty her pockets. Noel's fingers twitched. Luca turned to her slowly. Don't. Her eyes flicked up to his, fear swimming in them. What do we do? He didn't have an answer. Matteo suddenly stepped between them and Salvatore. I'll handle the search, Matteo said. Alone. Without guards. Without intimidation. If she has nothing, we move on. Salvatore studied him. Why help her? I'm helping Luca, Matteo said calmly. Salvatore considered this, then nodded once. Fine, but I want this resolved now. Luca's relief was so sharp it hurt. Matteo gently gestured to the corner of the room. Come with me, Noel. She looked at Luca, seeking permission. He nodded. She followed Matteo, steps tiny, nerves shaking every inch of her. Matteo kept his voice low as they walked. Don't panic. I'm not going to hurt you. She didn't answer. He opened a small side door, ushered her into a small supply room attached to the office. He kept the door half open, enough for Salvatore to see silhouettes, but not hear. Inside, Matteo turned to her with a surprisingly soft expression. Noel, look at me. She raised her eyes slowly. His voice lowered. Are you in danger? Her throat tightened. I don't know. Did you do something that would put you on Salvatore's radar? Silence. Her eyes glistened with fear. Matteo's gaze sharpened. Luca's sick, isn't he? Her breath caught. That's why he stumbled. Matteo continued quietly. That's why he's pale. That's why he snapped at Uncle. Her lips trembled. Matteo exhaled. And you're helping him get through it. She nodded. Tiny, fragile. Matteo dragged a hand through his hair, whispering a curse. If Uncle figures that out, he'll tear the house apart. And he'll question you until you break. She blinked hard. Then what do I do? Matteo looked at her. Really looked. And something in his expression shifted. From now on, he whispered, you stay close to me. Her eyes widened. What? Luca can't protect you right now, Matteo said. But I can. If Uncle thinks you're under my supervision, he'll back off. But why? She asked. Why help me? Matteo's voice softened with something she couldn't name. Because Luca would never forgive me if I let anything happen to you. Her breath stopped. Matteo searched her face. He almost smiled. Something sad, almost knowing. Let me guess, he murmured. You don't even realize how much he's already risking for you. She swallowed. No. He chose you, Matteo said quietly. And he doesn't choose people. Noelle's chest tightened. Matteo gently reached in her apron pockets, checking quickly, respectfully. You're clean, he murmured. I'll tell them that. Stay behind me. She nodded shakily. They stepped out of the room together. Matteo declared, nothing on her. Salvatore stared hard at both of them. But after a long moment, he nodded. For now, Salvatore said. She can go. Noelle turned to leave. But Luca grabbed her wrist again. Everyone saw it. Everyone noticed. And Salvatore's suspicion deepened. But Luca didn't care anymore. You stay with Matteo, he whispered to her. Don't go anywhere alone. She nodded, barely breathing. The room seemed to shrink around them. The danger thickened. This wasn't over. It wasn't even close. But for now, forced proximity had tied Luca, Noelle, and Matteo together. A fragile triangle in a house built on secrets.